Hi, friends. So today we're talking about lists. Lists are another type of variable that can store other information inside it. So you can think of it like a gallon bag that's got other little bags taped to it. So you've got your big bag, that's the list, and then you've got all your other little bags, your little sandwich bags, inside. And each smaller bag can hold one thing. It can hold strings or it can hold numbers, just like the variables that we started with. So we name our gallon bags the same way that we name our regular variables. And our interior bags, the smaller ones on the inside, are numbered starting at 0. These are called the indexes. So this first bag is at index 0. Second bag is at index 1. Third bag is at index 2. So on this slide, you're going to create your own list. So you're going to delete this box and then go ahead and put your list together. So you can pause this, put your own list together, and then I'll tell you about mine. All right, so here's my list. I made a list of all of my dogs, and I put them in age order. So in index 0, we've got Rudy, who's the oldest. Then index 1 is Annie, who's the next oldest. Index 2 is Bentley. He's the third oldest. Index 3 is Holly, and she's the fourth oldest. And index 4 is Olivia. She's the fifth oldest, or the youngest. Now, next up, we've got a variable that is defined as a list called myList. So here's the name. We know it's a list because it's got brackets. And inside those brackets come the things that are in the different indexes. So in index 0, we've got the string pizza. And in index 1, we've got the number 4. My dogs just heard me say all their names, and now I hear them all moving around like, what's going on? So the big thing to know is that we indicate a list with square brackets, and we separate the different values with commas. So on this slide, go ahead and write out the command that creates the list that you made on the previous slide. Here's the command for my list. It's a variable called my dogs, and it's a list. So now we've got the brackets, and then in order, we've got Rudy. He was in index 0, then Annie in index 1, Bentley in index 2, Holly in index 3, and Olivia in index 4. So on this slide, it gives you a list. Here's the list. Lunch food is the name of the variable, and inside lunch food lives nachos in index 0, pizza in index 1, and soup in index 2. So when we want to access things that are inside the list, we also use the square brackets to say which index inside the list we're looking for. So lunch food 0 in the brackets, right? Because we're saying we're accessing an element in the list. We're accessing the element at index 0. So I go to 0 and I get nachos. Then inside lunch food, the list accessing the element at index 2, that's soup. So there's my answers for those. Oh, I forgot to do the animations for this one. Well, so let's talk about this one over here. We'll talk about this bottom one first. So we've got my numbers element 0 plus my numbers element 2. Well, element 0 is 10. Okay, so I got 10. And element 2 is 25. So I got 10 plus 25 gives me 35. And now the top one, we've got 3 plus my numbers element 1. Well, my numbers element 1 is 20. So I put that in. I do 3 plus 20 gives me 23. Now on this slide, you are writing 3 expressions include that. Oh my God. You're writing 3 expressions that will let you access the list you created. So something from the list you created. So here's mine. I said, okay, access my dog's element 0. That was Rudy. My dog's element 3. That was Holly. My dog's element 2. That was Bentley. And then remember, they start at 0. So 0 was Rudy, 1 was Annie, 2 was Bentley, 3 was Holly, 4 was Olivia. Okay, now for this one, we're going to be using the manipulatives. You're going to use these guys up here, copy and drag and drop and whatever, in order to set up this list called My Numbers. So I've moved I made some little baggies, I dropped them in, and then inside I have numbers 10, 20, and 25. So what I have set up now reflects line 0. I've got a variable, My Numbers. It's a list. Inside lives element 0 is 10, element 1 is 2, element 25. I'm sorry, element 1 is 20, element 2 is 25. Next line says to set the My Numbers element at 0 to 5. Okay, so just like when we rewrote variables that weren't lists, you kick out whatever's in there, throw it in the trash, and put the new value in. So the 10 that was there on line 0 is gone. Now it's a 5. Line 2 says, okay, what will the element, it says My Numbers 2 should become 30. So the element at index 2 switches to 30. So my list, My Numbers, is now 5, 20, and 30. Okay, so we've got another one here. This one, we start off variable My Stuff with the number 20, then the string hat, the string pow, and then the number 5. So here is my variable list called My Stuff. Then the first thing it says is take the element at index 1 and change it to cat. Done. Okay. Then it says take the element at index 2 and have it take the value of the element in index 1. Well, in index 1 we have cat, so that means that index 2 also becomes cat. Then line 3 says My Stuff element at index 0 takes the value of My Stuff element at index 3 plus 10. Okay, so here's my element at index 3. I'm going to add 10. So my element at index 0 becomes 15. So 5 plus 10. Then it says the element at index 3, currently 5, should be the element at index 0 plus the element at index 0. So the element at index 0 is 15. 15 plus 15 is 30. Then I plug that into index 3. So here's my new variable. Okay, for this one, my stuff list starts off with string dog, string cat, then numbers 3 and 10. So here's my setup. Then it says My Stuff element 2 minus 1. Well, I have to evaluate inside my brackets, so 2 minus 1 is 1. So the element at My Stuff index 1 becomes tree. Okay, so we threw out cat, and now we have tree. Then it says My Stuff element 2. So first I need to go and figure out what's at My Stuff 2. Well, that's the number 3. That's what I plug in here. So this long My Stuff element 2 becomes just the number 3. So now I'm going to My Stuff at number 3, and it should match it should take the value of My Stuff at element 0. So I'm going to overwrite the number, whatever that number was, number 10, with dog, because that's what's at element 0. These embedded inside brackets may remind you of PEMDAS from your math classes, hopefully. They are very useful for doing less lines of code. So these look messy, but we'll get used to them. Now, the remove item command is just a delete, and you tell it what index you want to delete at. So my line 0 says I have a variable, My Numbers. It's a list of 10, 20, and 25. So there it is. Then I'm going to remove item from list My Numbers at index 1. Okay, so here's list my numbers. Here's index 1. That's what I'm going to remove. But we can't have an empty index, so the 25 will slide down and index 2 will disappear. Now we'll do that again. On line 2 says remove item from list my numbers at index 0. So my item at index 0 will disappear. We can't have an empty index, so the 25 will slide down and it's the 1 that goes away. So we're left with just the 25. The append item command, append always adds to the end. So you're putting it at the end. Append literally sounds like at end. So I'm starting off with a list, with a variable, my numbers. It's a list. It only has one element at index 0, that's the number 10. Then we want to append the list my numbers with a 50. I don't need to give an index because it always puts it at the end. So it just adds the number 50 to the end. And then we're going to do the same thing again. This time we're going to add the number 100 to the end. The last command is the insert item command. Insert, you need to tell it the index because it's going to put it in a specific place in the list. So it's going to split the list open, pull it apart, and put it in there. So we're starting off with the variable numbers. It's a list that includes 10 and 50. We want to insert an item into the variable list at index 1, and we're inserting the number 20. So that means we're going to pull this list apart right here. The 50 will slide over to index 2, and we'll put something new in index 1. So the 50 slides over, and it says, okay, we're putting the number 20 in there. And then here's my new list. My next line says I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to insert an item into the list nums at index 1. Okay. That means that I am splitting apart my list right here. The 20 and the 50 will move down. So 20 is now at index 2 and 50 is at index 3. And I will insert the number 100 into index 1. So that's my insert item command. Now, you guys can watch this video. You don't need to watch me watch the video. Same with this one. So we've got our key takeaways here. A list is an ordered collection of elements. The order matters. It matters so much. We give them an index. The index says where the item is in the list. Indexing always starts at 0 and then moves up 1, 2, 3, well, whatever. And we can't have an empty index. So you can't have 0 and then nothing and then 2. You could insert a blank string. So that's like just a space or whatever. But you can't have an empty index. If you do, everything just slides down. An element is the individual thing. So it's like what's in the baggie at that particular index. And the index is just the word that tells you where it is in the list. Always starts at 0 and then keeps going. So your task now is to go to code.org and do these couple, evaluate these apps, answer the questions about the lists, and then level the first one and the third one have a thing for you to modify and then screenshot and paste in your code here. So then you'll look at this app. This is the second app. There's some questions. There isn't a modify for that one. And then you'll look at the third app, which is on level 6, and you'll answer the questions and then paste your code here. And that is it. Good luck.